My name is Simon Marsh, and I'm a consultant surgeon at 108 Harley Street in London, where I work not only in the breast clinic, treating all sorts of breast diseases, but also operating on people with hernias and doing lots of operations under local anaesthetic, for example, skin lesions, lumps and bumps, cysts, and so on. Why did I decide to become a doctor? Well, I think when I was young, I had a really intense curiosity about how everything worked. And the most complicated thing I could think about in those days when I was young and small was the human body and how did that work? And in particular, what happened when it didn't work and what happened when it went wrong? So I had a real desire to try and understand how the human body was built, how bits of it were put together, how it worked, what happened when it went wrong, and what you could do about it. And I know it sounds naive, what everybody says, but it's how could you make people better when it didn't work very well? What made me want to become a general surgeon and specialise in breast diseases and also groin and hernia surgery? Well, I suppose in terms of becoming a surgeon, there are two broad groups, if you like, when you study to be a doctor, and there's medicine and there's surgery. And medicine is all about treating things with tablets, treatments, therapies, and so on. And the surgery is about operating. That's what surgeons do. And I think it goes back to the real intense curiosity I had about how everything works and how you can make it work better and what happens when it doesn't. When you are a surgeon, you have somebody who comes on with a particular problem. You can say, this is your problem. I know that if I do this operation, I can almost always make you better. And it's that sort of definitive sort of pathway that I find attractive and rewarding, that somebody comes on with a specific problem, you can do a specific operation and you can usually make them better. Now, in terms of why I ended up doing breast cancer surgery and groin and hernia surgery, and they all sound very different things, but I trained as a general surgeon. And in those days when I trained, you would go through 6-month slots of doing different things. So I have done bowel surgery and vascular surgery and liver surgery and brain surgery and chest surgery. I've done all that throughout my training. And what I did as I came to the end of what were then called the registrar years, and this is when you learn the different specialties and you learn how to operate, I sort of sat down with myself metaphorically and said, which bits did I enjoy most and which bits did people tell me I was best at? And that's how you come down to picking a small number of things that you enjoy and people tell you you're good at, that you can focus on, particularly when you get more experience and perhaps later in your career and you've done everything else and you can put aside the things that you think, well, I feel I don't need to do it anymore. But these are the sorts of things I'd like to concentrate on because people tell me I'm good at it and because I enjoy it. Where did I grow up? Now, I was born in St Leonards-on-Sea on the south coast of England near Hastings, which is Eastbourne, Brighton, that sort of way, in East Sussex, in a fairly ordinary sort of house. And my mother was a nurse. My father had several jobs. He worked as a newsagent, but also ended up working in a local car body repair shop, which was quite useful when I got cars and things needed doing. I went to local grammar school, did O-levels and A-levels, and ended up studying in Trinity College, Cambridge, Adam Brooks Hospital in Cambridge to do medicine. So I've always lived, I suppose, as a growing up as a young person by the sea, and I still love being by the sea. And I live now when I'm not working in London. I go home to near the sea, and I love being by the sea. I suppose you can sort of see boundaries, and you just love the smell of being by the sea and all that goes with it. But it was a fairly ordinary upbringing. I played a lot of sport, did a lot of football, but again, I was brought up by my parents to keep asking why all the time. Why does this happen? Why? And just to be curious about things. And as I've said before, I think that's what drives me to do medicine and to do surgery. What are the challenges with my specialisation? Well, I think most of the challenges now come in the breast cancer field. And what I've seen over the last 20 plus years as I've been dealing more and more with breast cancer cases is what we call the individualization of treatments. Now, 20, 30 years ago, if you had breast cancer, you would probably get the same treatment, whatever sort it was. We now know there are lots of different sorts. And what's happening now, particularly over the last 5 years, we're beginning to be able to look more closely at a cancer in a particular lady and try and work out why that's different from a cancer in somebody else and how that's different from a cancer in somebody else, because every cancer is different and we're just not sophisticated enough to work out in what way they are different most of the time. But we are beginning to get some ideas of which treatments will work for which ladies and which cancers, rather than giving everybody the same, if you like, domestos type treatment. We can tailor the treatment, which means people get the right treatments, but also importantly, you're not giving perhaps fairly toxic treatments to people that don't need it. So it's this understanding of what causes cancer, how cancers are different, perhaps deep down on a genetic level, and what treatments you can use individually for different ladies to make the treatments better. And I think that's where we're going to see progress over the next 5 to 10 years.